So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalja, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Atif Syed, CEO and founder of Wootzano. Welcome, Atif. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How about you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for asking. And I'm excited to have you on the podcast today because I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience.
Great.
Now,
Well, glad to be here.
before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Wootzano does?
Sure. So we are a robotics business. We make what we call highly dexterous robots. These robots are designed to do the job of human beings on production line. And if you imagine people picking up fruits or vegetables, a robot mimic that and do exactly the same thing repeatedly, consistently, and process the fruits and vegetables in accordance to retailer specification. So when you go to your supermarket, pick up a bunch of grapes or tomatoes, it would have been done by human beings, and we are now putting robots to do the exact same task. That enables our customers to become more sustainable, reduction in food waste, and also filling in one of the biggest problems we've got in today's sort of world is availability of human labor to do a repetitive and very mundane job in a more warehouse type environment. So that's something what our robots are designed to do.
Okay, that's really fascinating. And basically, what inspired you to create Wootzano? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
So Wootzano itself is as a company was started to commercialize a very unique piece of technology called the electronic skin. This is something which I have been working for since I was in my undergraduate. Then I decided to do my PhD. Originally, the application for the electronic skin was purely in medical devices and drug delivery. In fact, my whole PhD is on synthesis and characterization of this in biomedical and drug delivery applications. The idea was to utilize transdermal patch, completely flexible and stretchable, which can deliver anti-cancer drugs with more efficacy and more targeted approach so that the need for chemotherapy is potentially reduced. That was basically the original application for it. But as I was doing my PhD, I realized that within 9, 10 months of doing it, I realized that the material which I have developed have got very unique properties. And those unique properties meant that it was very sensitive to force and pressure. So you're able to detect very minute changes of pressure being around. So if you touch it, you can really see it happening. You can capture that data. My original background is in robotics. I did a lot of my work in robotics. So I knew that one of the fundamental problem of robots is the ability for robots to really touch and feel the environment they are in at the point of contact. Because right now we use what we call force torque sensors. So they're not exactly like a force sensor as we do. Like it's not exactly like a skin like human beings. It gives the robot the ability to know how much force to apply, but it won't really give you at the point of contact. And those milliseconds matter when you're trying to manipulate objects. Because you and I, when you look at an object, you first see what the object is, then you realize, okay, I need to go and approach it. You know where it is in
Mhm.
real world. You use your eyes to do that. And once you approach it, you pick up the can, and when you're picking up, you know the weight, you know how hot or cold it is, and based on all these feedback you manipulate that object. And it's a
Right.
complex task. When you look at someone who's born, how long it takes for them to, have the fine motor skills and then they eventually start walking. It's a similar type of concept. It's a very complex process we as human beings do eventually. So it's to mimic that particular part in robots meant that this was, to my knowledge at the time, was the missing link between robots and human beings really working together. So when I finished my PhD, started, basically I wanted to commercialize it. So Wootzano was really born out of the need for commercializing this electronic skin. I mean, what we're doing today was something really blossomed just after COVID pandemic sort of hit in 2020. Labor availability was really scarce. People were social distancing and all that sort of thing. So production warehouse and production sites were having extreme problems of having people to be in a production site. So really we sort of utilized electronic skin in the current Outbry robot from 2020. 2020 year 2020 onwards. But up until that, from 2017-18 to 2020, we did a lot of applications with the electronic skin. That was Wootzano's original sort of
Right.
contribution. But then we now focus fully on the Avrai system, which utilizes the skin. It's a very unique and important part of the robotic system.
Okay, that's really interesting. But for example, what was your background before starting this venture?
My background is in electronics, robotics, and nanotechnology. I did my undergraduate in electronics and nanotechnology in from the University of York, and then I went to Edinburgh, to University of Edinburgh, to do my PhD. So my background is, I'm an engineer. At the core, I'm an engineer. I'm a scientist, who then turned into a businessman, trying to
Mm-hmm.
commercialize it. And the way I see this is, for any engineer, I think the most satisfying thing for an engineer is to see their inventions and creations being utilized by people and it's helping people. I mean, engineering
Right.
is about finding solutions, utilizing science and finding solutions where others won't think. And that's what engineering at its core is. So for me, setting my business and having this journey meant that I was able to take my engineering instincts and interest, but then ensure that all of this amazing creations by me and the team behind it is then imparted to the rest of the world. It's a deadly combo. If you're an engineer and you can sell your engineering products, which is very hard to find because it's either one or the other. You can either sell
Yeah.
or you can either build something. But if you can have that true combo within you, that becomes a very deadly combo overall because you understand the technology and you understand the science behind it, but you can also explain to a customer what and why
Yeah.
they need to get and
Totally
how do you
understand.
make a business out of it. So yeah, my background is that. And obviously today I do a lot of things from working with the governments to diplomacy to obviously Wootzano and what I do. Sit on a few boards in different places and helping people around. So and if I do find time as well, I really like to speak to the next generation entrepreneurs, especially who are in deep tech. Kind of thing. It's a tough journey. It's
Yeah, yeah,
always good to
interesting.
have some support wherever it can be.
Yeah, interesting progress. And for example, if you're looking back, what would you wish you've done differently at those early days when you're starting the venture?
Um, I mean, obviously there are lots and lots of things out of change and a lot of things I wouldn't have changed. I think I would say I would have changed, but then it if I would have changed those things in the past, I wouldn't be who I am today in terms of understanding, in terms of the maturity, and in terms of understanding what business is all about. So yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of instances, when we started off the electronic skin concept itself, as an engineer, you come up with it and you're very excited about your product. And then, you open up and you tell people in terms of what it is. So one thing I've learned very early on, is, ensuring whoever you work with, whether it's partners or colleagues, or potential co-founders, it's important that you put in what everyone's contributions are and how those contributions actually realize in real world. Because when you're working, everyone is happy to share, and so am I, and I'm happy to share my invention with the rest of the world. But then some of those decisions were in hindsight weren't the right decisions. Eventually everything went fine, but there have been essentially people taking up part of the technology. Thankfully, I had patents which can protect the core technology, but that's all down to a bit of naivety, understanding what businesses is, which a lot of people go through. But at least to me, that's one thing I don't think I would have changed it, but that's something I've learned. And the other thing really is maybe, yeah, I mean, this is not that far behind, but in the last 2 or 3 years, have been traveling extensively. I mean, last year was 290 days for different customers around. So maybe a little bit of a moderation would have been great in past 1 or 2 years, which I've done this year. Has been a lot less than what it is, um, because of I've got a family, a daughter who's growing up very quickly. So spending time with all of those things is also very, very important. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to do that, but I think it's quite important as a founder. It can be a very lonely place, many, many times.
Yeah, 100%. And I saw that you've developed a unique electronic skin with human-like nerve endings. And for example, how does that technology enhance your robot capabilities?
So the electronic skin allows the robot to understand the environment. Like I just mentioned, it allows the robot to know the object in front of it, know the force or pressure to apply to ensure that when the robot is picking up an object, let's say a tomato, it doesn't apply too much force that it crushes it or damages it or bruises it, or it doesn't apply too less force that it's not able to pick up properly. It slips out of his hand. So one is the force, and the other one is when it's picking in similar to human being, you need to know the direction of force. So the way you and I detect slip is when we feel something is going in one direction. Oh, it's coming out, it's going down. So you instinctively try to either, press it a bit more or try to move your arm, whatever you
Yeah,
want to do. I'm not that dexterous, unfortunately. So I think if it was me, I'll probably drop it. But that's the kind of thing which, as human beings, we utilize. At least we know that something is slipping out. So we have slip detection, which allows the robot to really understand how to manipulate the object without making it slip, without making it, drop. So those are the two sort of aspects in there. There is a chemical sensing capability within the electronic skin. So it has, the skin has got what we call nanowires. They're very, very tiny, synthetically grown, sort of obstrusions coming out of the material. They do a lot of interesting things. They allow the feedback which I just talked about, force, pressure, and slip, but also if you functionalize them. So functionalizing is, you expose them to a particular expose the nanowires to a particular chemical or particular gas. Um, so what happens then is if you functionalize them to that, the nanowires would be able to then, let's call it smell, similar to a human nose. It's able to know, oh, I smell this gas or I smell that gas. So you can actually use it as a chemical sensor at the point of contact. The interesting thing there is, especially in the current application, when we look at fresh produce, fruits and veg, you're looking at force pressure, all of that is good. But then if you can also detect ethylene, which is a specific chemical fruits and veg give out, and the concentration of ethylene it basically tells you how fresh a particular product is,
right.
or not fresh is. And if you if you capture the ethylene concentration together with the temperature, contact temperature, the firmness, and like how soft or hard it is, you can then detect shelf life of a product, which then means you're not only automating the task, making it more efficient, cost effective, but you're also going beyond that and you're saying, oh, if something's gonna go off in 5 days versus 2 days, the customers so who are utilizing it, they can do smart and intelligent packing where they can say two of it goes in this box here, which we can sell at $1. The one which is going to go off in 5 or 6 days shelf life, we're going to sell it for $2 or 150 or whatever it is to ensure that the products which are going to basically lose its shelf life faster can be sold at a cheaper price so that at least you don't waste it. Because there is a lot of wastage in the industry, and a lot of it is down to these type of data not being available because you're relying on human beings, you're relying on people's experience. And what's also happening is people who have been working in the industry, whether they're farmers or they're pack house workers, the what we call tacit knowledge is sort of very hard to find now. So people who are skilled, like your grandmas and granddads who would know how a particular recipe should be, how something should be, because they just know. You
Yeah.
just ask them and they know about it, right? Because they have that tacit information. But that a lot of it is not being passed on, and the problem now is it's very difficult to have that kind of capability in
Yeah.
farms and in pack houses. And the only way to preserve that knowledge and consistently continue us producing fresher and much high yielding fresh produce is automation, which a lot of people don't think about. And because we've been in the industry, we think a lot about this side as well, because there is, of course, the application is great. You save money, but there's so many other things happening on the side. You're actually making food more sustainable, which is, I don't think you can put a price to it. I can be a bit biased on this, but I don't think you can put a price on food sustainability and food security, which to me is the exact same thing which a lot of the world is ignoring. It's similar to the pandemic. Everyone is like,
Okay.
oh yeah, it's going to happen at some point. If it happens, we're all ready. No one, let's not invest too much into this. Food security is the next big challenge, in everywhere around the world, and you're going to see this, and this will be a problem. We see that in the UK. I have just, the Australian avocado industry have suffered massively, all sorts of reasons, but labor, of course, is one of the biggest costs. So people are not able to sustain themselves, and eventually, if no one farms and no one packs and
Yeah.
ships those to retailers, where do you get a fruit from? Maybe in a genetically modified lab. I don't know. Maybe we would take a capsule to have a nutrition
Yeah.
needs in the future. But yeah, that's basically where the robots really add value. The skin really adds value in enabling robots to really be more efficient and eventually make sure there's food security in place.
Okay. But also, could you explain how your robots handle the delicate fruits and vegetables without causing damage?
So electronic skin is one part, which I just mentioned. So it uses the skin to make sure it's fixed properly. The other one is machine learning. So we use vision system. It's a, what do you call it? We utilize machine learning model, which enables robot to really know in real time how their products are being handled. So for our robot, you don't need to get a fruit or vegetable in a specific location. So you don't need to be, it doesn't need to be in a specific location. It can be anywhere on a conveyor, anywhere on a
Yeah.
table. The robot, as long as it can reach it, it will go and reach it. So what we call dynamic handling of products, as opposed to fixed location where everything comes in, you pick it up from the fixed place. So we utilize those things, the skin, the machine learning models, the motors, and everything else as a combined system to enable robot to really understand what to pick. And fruits and veg are very random. They're organic materials. So if we don't use machine learning models, we use machine learning models and deep learning methods to be able to understand what the fruit variety is, and if that's a good product or not for the customer specification. And then there are normally 30 different specifications customers have got, and they're different. So they all are processed by the robot, and it makes sure that whatever it's looking at, it's matching what the end customer is requiring. And
Okay.
here
So
the end customer is not our customer. Our customers are the ones who are packing. End customers are the retailers, open market guys who get the products for them and say, oh, I want the product to be like this.
okay. So you basically are you segmenting every fruit in order to be the good or let's call bad?
Yeah, so I mean, not every fruit within the category it is. So if it's favorite grade, we are able, obviously we are classifying each of those and we are saying is that good or not good, and then
Yeah.
we're able to weigh the fruit as well just by looking at it. So in 300 milliseconds, the robot will know this
Okay.
weighs 20 gram, this weighs 200 gram, and then it can decide what to do with it, whether it's weight, whether it's size, banding, whether it's color banding. They're all those sort of
Yeah.
processes which happen, and all of that happen in fairly quick period of time. The important thing is it's obviously doing it repeatedly and consistently, which is where the biggest value add is.
Yeah, and another point is interesting because it's very precision, right?
Yeah,
So it's a lot of automations. And
yeah,
for example, why has the post-harvest industry been largely untouched by automation until now?
very good question. I think and it's something which I asked in 2020, 2019, 2020. So the post-harvest industry, specifically, I feel is very less understood by the market. And the reason why is that a lot of people think farmers who are harvesting the products, they are basically the ones who are shipping products to the end retailers, and retailers go and buy it from the farmers. But the reality is this: after the product is harvested, there is a complete industry where you need to post process those exact fruits and vegetables. And without post processing, they won't come to us. There's no almost anywhere in the world. They all are pretty much done the same way, unless you're a farmer yourself. A farmer will sell to an aggregator, and they will then process it and then ship it on further to the end customer. And this is, we've seen that from the US all the way to Japan. Exactly the same process. There might be different ways, but same thing. There's no difference in it. The problem why it's been difficult to automate post-harvest products. Actually, that being said, by the way, the harvesting of products as well is quite difficult. And as you may know, the number of companies working to do harvesting, robotic harvesters and stuff, but the commercially it's still early stages in terms of the revenue and integration and stuff because it's a difficult problem as well. But in post harvest, the problem becomes even more. And I thought at the time, that's actually easier then. It's in a warehouse control environment. What can go wrong? Because if you
Yeah.
take the robot outside, it's random environment, rain, dirt, and the surface is horrible, whatever it is, right? You're going in a farm. So what we realized was in post harvest, you're actually physically handling the fruit a lot more than what you would do in harvesting. Because harvesting, just go whether you're snipping and then dropping, like for strawberry, for example, aubergine or what is it, wine tomatoes. You just go and snip and then it drops into the thing and that's basically it. It goes forward. What you realize when you're doing post harvest is you're physically handling the fruits and vegetables. And because these fruits and vegetables are so random, needs to do a lot more surgery. Let's say grapes, for example, you need to do a lot of surgery. I'm calling the word surgery because you have to snip and get it the right weight, beautify it, remove the bad ones, all that sort of thing. So when you look at something like that, you realize actually this is like snip, pick and place, weighing, looking at the thing and 30 different specifications, which when you're harvesting, you're looking at literally one or two specifications saying, oh, does it look ripe? Does the color look okay? Yeah, good. Snip. And okay, that itself is difficult and it's not been solved yet, on a commercial scale. So that was the main reason why no one actually entered in. We were a bit foolish enough thinking, oh, we can actually do this. Let's just get into it. And we
Yeah.
started with table grapes as a first product we were training the robots on, which is one of the most difficult products we ever had. And it's still one of the most difficult products you can ever deal with. But I think because we started off with the most difficult thing, everything else became a lot easier. Once we actually managed to solve that, all the other fruits and veg we now do, it basically became quite natural for us to be doing that. So yeah, so I think the main reason is it's difficult. That's essentially where it is. Now, we have 68 plus patents. So I know there are companies who are looking into post harvest, thanks to us, actually opening up and telling to the market that look, there is this much money to be made. And there are all these people who want it, right? So I know a couple of companies who are focusing on harvesting have now switched completely to post harvest. So they're basically trying to market their robots for what we try to do, right? So they're trying to work on that and kind
Yeah.
of develop. It's good because now we have some competition coming up. Not publicly there, but it's coming up. But we still think we are 2 or 3 years at least ahead of whatever else is out there. But then because we have patents which have quite good coverage, um, you know, people have to think. We will have to think very differently in handling the post-harvest problem because if we're trying to do very similar to what we're doing, we've got patents covering that. So it will be difficult for someone to compete legally on in that front. But then people can find potentially maybe other ways to do the exact same problem, right? So I don't know yet, but that's how I think competition is now going to come. So you probably see in the next maybe 3 or 4 years, there will be more companies coming up in post harvest and trying to hopefully solve the problem in a different way. And if they're really successful and the problem is really good, then we're happy to look into acquisition. Yeah, but I think the whole point is it's difficult. The problem is very difficult
Yeah.
for anyone to do.
It's such a complex progress.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And for example, let's talk a little bit about this because this is very interesting as well. So, how are you addressing concerns about robots replacing the human jobs?
Look, the way I see this is robots are they're not directly replacing the jobs, they are in essence converting human jobs. So the way I say this, the reason why I say this is because the jobs the robots are taking, one is very hard for human beings to fill those roles, hence there's a massive labor shortage. But also the second thing is what you're doing with these robots is you're moving the job people from a repetitive repetitive and lower paid jobs and upskilling them to get them into a higher paid and higher paying job. And the way I say upskilling is something which we as the company and also the government needs to work together to be able to create upskilling opportunities. So people who were picking or handling fruits and vegetables can then be retrained to become a technician, an engineering technician, or installation engineer or maintenance engineer, which doesn't require massive, training course, probably 2 or 3 weeks of training. The person is now good to go. So what you're now doing is you're taking the people out from there and actually, upgrading their skills onto what skills are required today. And what's happening, it's not just Wootzano, but what's happening with robotics, AI and stuff is not any different to the industrial revolution where machines took over majority of the tasks. If you look at washing machine, the amount of time just that one single equipment saved people's lives. Imagine going out now and, smashing and, putting the soap on your clothes and trying to like manually clean it. It saved a lot of your time. I mean, almost it's pretty much a white good product, which regardless of your income, you have it. It's there. That's something you can't live without, right? So it's literally this is the next industrial revolution, where you're automating and you're trying to do you're using a lot more intelligence rather than just machines. So these robots and these machines and these equipment and the software is more intelligent and utilizing data in the ways we haven't seen before. So this is just this is the next step to where we are. So yes, at least for now, and again in the short term and in the mid to long term, this is not a problem. In fact, this is something which really benefits the economy and benefits peoples because you're putting higher paid jobs into the market. And that's what we want. We want more secure jobs. We have more much higher paid income for people. So there's more the quality of life of people's increases and reduces reliance on burdens on governments overall. So that's basically what these kind of things do. Not just us. Please support all these type of companies because they're genuinely going to revolutionize what workforce looks like in the future.
Yeah, and in other words, this will complement like people lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. This will complement people's lives, and don't be afraid of automation. Don't be afraid of robotics. Don't be afraid of all of these things. I always say to people that with robots, you've got the luxury of time. And what I mean by that is you, if you want to go and wash your clothes, of course, you can do it yourself and you've got a machine, a
Of
robot,
course.
but a bit dumber robot, but a robot, which is doing that. If you want to, vacuum your floors, you can do that, but you got robot vacuum cleaners. If you want to cut your lawn, of course you can do that, but you got, robot, uh, lawnmowers, right? So you got all these things which are already available, which you can do it yourself. You want to turn on your light yourself, you can do it, or you can ask your smart home system to turn it on for you. All of those things are there to give you convenience, but it doesn't take away your right to continue to do it. So what it's doing is giving you more time to do things you really want to do. So whether you
Exactly.
want to spend more time with your kids, whether you want to spend more time reading a book, whether you want to spend more time, going to a holiday destination, whatever it might be, right? You're saving time because you can always get money, but time is something you can't get. So it gives you the luxury of time, with automation and robotics. So you can actually leave those things aside and go forward. So the resistance is, um, I would say when people don't understand fully, and if you only look at Hollywood and the movies which come out, that's far from reality of what robotics is and what people in the industry are doing to improve lives.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But for now,
Well, for now, I mean, we say that, but I think I think at the end of the day, you know, as human beings, um, as long as you're creative and as long as you have a physical way to process things, I don't think everyone will be redundant. You know, there are tools. For me, there are tools to make things like calculator. You know, it's a tool for you to make your life easier. AI is a tool. Then it's not going to come up with all the solutions for you. You have to still give that feedback and input. You still have to give the prompt. You got ChatGPT. Yes. But if you don't have the ideas yourself, you know, it's not going to come up with everything for you and then blurt it out. Yes. Okay. People will know you've used some generative AI to do that, but you still need to make sure you're coming up with your thoughts, your mind, your creativity, and that's something which is important. You know, I think the future of work is very different in the next 10 to 15 years. It's not what we all are thinking, and especially the new generation. Like when I look at my daughter and her generation, the next sort of 10, 15 years, is going to look so different. The skills required are so different, and the kind of thought process is very different. Exciting time, but at the same time, you know, it's difficult for people to comprehend sometimes, and that's where the fear comes in. A lot of times it's because people don't know, as opposed to there's a genuine fear. You know, fear of the unknown is the biggest problem with everything. Every part of society have got it.
Yeah, 100%. And you talk about the automation, and for example, you operate in 8 countries, right? And how do you adapt your technology to different markets?
So if you go to different countries, every country and customers, there's a lot of cultural norms which get applied. So when you go to the US, it's very different you sell when you go to Japan or the UK. So each of these markets where we are in, we typically try to get into the country with some local partners. And some of the time it works, some of the time it doesn't work. But what that local partners really do is it enables us to have a lot of sort of like a friendlier ground to land first, rather than focusing on all the administrative nightmare. You can focus on selling your robots or your products, and the local partner hopefully will be able to navigate and work with us in collaboration to understand how to sell into the industry and how to sell to this particular market. So, you know, we've got partners in the US, we've got partners in Japan, in Malaysia. And then the whole point is we work with them, they become our agents on the ground, and we can then fully focus on our robotic systems. But the way we sell, of course, is very different from each of the countries. Malaysia is different, Australia is different, you know, how is it? Japan is different. So entering each of these markets is important to, if you can find a local partner and understand the culture. And the second, and I think the most important thing is a lot of times people sort of think that international expansion, let's just capture the home market fully, you know, capture your country you're in. Once you're saturated that, then go international, right? Which I think there is a logic to it, and I agree to the logic. But sometimes what happens is when you're in the country, like in Europe, in EU and the UK, from 2022 onwards, we have geopolitical issues which came in, which is no one had any control over. So because of that, the energy prices, you know, shot up. The highest we had in the UK was 400%, which is a lot for an industry, you know, who makes 4% margin in a good year, 1% in a bad year. So, or actually not 1%, make a loss in bad years. So 400% is something they can't absorb. They don't have that free flowing cash available just to, you know, give out for the energy
Yeah,
companies. So the UK and most of Europe suffered unless you're a very big company with, you know, significant cash reserves. Anyone who is below that either succumbed or shut down or still struggling, and it's still slowly coming up. And this is 22, 23. And that's the kind of time when you look at Wootzano's international expansion completely matches with that. Because I was sitting in one of the board meetings and I was like, it's all good because we had customer defaults and we still have customer defaults here in the UK, where we struggle because obviously the customers themselves have been in massive difficulty. So I was like, you know, we can continue on this path or we go global. Wherever a robot is needed, wherever anyone is employing a human being to do fruits and vegetables, we can supply these robots. And that was basically it. I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm getting this out. And the interesting thing we did was we made the robot price in such a way that it matches the cost or slightly reduces the cost in comparison to a human labor cost. So that was basically your eureka moment. You're like, you know what? Now we can actually market it anywhere. And we looked at our robots, and the only countries we can't make any profit is Central Africa, Central African countries. That's it. Anywhere in the world, based on all of our data we have, we will make some margins. So the robot itself is profitable, and that allows us to sort of make that very interesting structure. So when we go to Malaysia, I'm not offering them, UK prices. I'm not offering them the prices and the thing. I'm saying these are the robots given to you only to be used in Malaysia, only in that country, and we'll treat this robot as if it's a human being in terms of wage perspective, and we'll pay them what your wages are, average wages are in the country. So
Okay.
that was interesting, and that's what I said. You have to adopt to your market. You have to understand if the market is able to do. Sometimes, of course, if your price point is so extremely, incompatible, then you can't enter many of the markets because, you just can't. Yeah, because you're going to make massive losses. There's no point being there. But Wootzano didn't have that. So it's supposed to understand which markets he can realistically enter because of the price point and what's the lowest he can take and all that. And then after that, trying to find partners and stuff to obviously get in. And that's how we did it. And now, of course, we know people, we have a little bit of a name in the industry. So it becomes a lot easier when we go and speak to people in different countries. We can deal with them a lot easily than what we could have 2 years ago or something, in terms of when we were trying to expand the market.
Okay, interesting things. And now, for example, looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
You mean trends in terms of, do you mean investment trends or robotic trends?
So yeah, trends. So for example, what's your vision for Utsano in the next,
All
let's
right.
say, 10 years?
Okay. Yeah, sure. The aim for the company is, of course, we want to continue our expansion into the post-harvest industry. We have captured still a very small segment of the market. We want to be able to expand onto that. But we do have applications now coming up specifically focusing on consumer robotics and utilizing what we're doing. So one of the things we've been working as a secret project within the company, it's still not fully released yet, but we're hoping maybe in a year or so, we'll get a first sort of teaser out, is to utilize all the knowledge we've got in handling fresh produce, whether it's fruits, vegetables, we're doing meat as well, fish, chicken nuggets, a lot of edible products. We think we can actually go a step beyond and bring this amazing piece of technology, which does and knows how to handle fruits and vegetables in a very, very cost-effective manner, handle fruits, veg at home and actually cook food for you. So it's really taking your subscription sort of services where you get recipes every week, HelloFresh, for example, or Gusto here in the UK. We are basically taking a step beyond that. And so you order your recipes and you got this robot on a monthly lease, and it comes as part of the subscription. You keep the robot, and the robot will cook food for you every time and whenever you want, whether it's lunch, dinner,
Yeah.
breakfast. Before you wake up, breakfast is ready. Before you come home, dinner is ready when you want it to. And we have a very, very interesting way of tackling this. And for us, it's always been how we can make it affordable so that people can get it. We don't want it to be a luxury, vanity product you keep in your living room, in a massive mansion. That's not at all what this product is about and what our vision for the robots have been. Our robots are still so competitively priced. When you look at cost of human beings and everything else, we're able to get into this market quite well. But when you look at what we're trying to do with these robots in people's lives, getting into the people's kitchens, we need this to be very affordable and we need this to be, accessible, and accessibility comes into affordability. So the robots are designed to be, and the ones we're getting out, our aim is to get the robot, either you buy it for $10,000 or you lease it for about $100 a month. So, and the whole point behind that is we want people to be able to access this, not something which is inaccessible, inaccessible. So that's basically the plan And if everything goes well, we do think our sort of exit route within the company is potentially through an IPO. Um, so if we get into, especially once we get into the consumer market, there's a lot more. We hope we can expand a lot more of the demand and open up a lot more of the market
Yeah,
in terms of where we are. So that's basically what we're thinking. In the next 5 years, definitely that's where it is. Uh, 10 years is a bit too long for us uh, to look at.
of course.
We'll see the first 5 years and hopefully all this comes to fruition. But even if, 30% or 40% comes to fruition, I think we're talking our revenues to hit, closer to 800 million to £1 billion. Our contracts currently are close to about £500 million for the next 5 years. I think we're hoping that we can get even if we get a half of that, it's £250 million,
Yeah, yeah,
which I,
yeah.
I think is not a bad position to be in.
Yeah, makes sense. Interesting. And before we wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon. So, when you look at Wootzano's journey over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most, but on a personal level?
So I think on a personal level, the possibility of robotics, where it's coming in, and and the way the world is progressing towards automation and robotics is particularly exciting because that's something which we all dreamt of, or well, at least I dreamt of when I was a kid. That we will have robots at home, we'll have robots in day-to-day lives, and automation will take over a majority of repetitive, mundane tasks. And that's already happening. You already are surrounded by robots as you sit. You're surrounded by AI and machine learning in the background. So that a lot of that is already happening. When you look at Wootzano, what we're doing is we are making food accessible, and we're hoping that all this thing will eventually lead to reduction of food prices. I'm not sure because I can't control that. It's still the customer. So if they choose to profit, the savings they're making from robot is their prerogative. But the hope is that this will become a lot more sustainable way of bringing in, or at least let's put it this way, at least the shock of increased prices might be days of the past by having full automation in place. At the moment, it's still partial automation. There's a lot of human element in there, creates the uncertainty. The other part of it is, like I said, the utilization of robots in a consumer environment, day-to-day environment, people's homes. I think that was the eventual goal I had when we got into robotics in the very early stage. But consumer products are hard to get into. So obviously, what we're doing is specific into the industry, but that really gave us a foundation to what the plan looks like. And I think personally for me, I've always said to my team, I've said to my board that I'm not a kind of person who wants to be a chief exec for forever and continue on. So I think at some point, I will of course continue to be in the board, potentially as a chair, but definitely will be a board member. Um, and still very much involved in the business, but I've always said we are more. I'm trying to make myself redundant to a point, which I haven't managed to. But the more every day I go, it's probably getting less and less because I'm doing more and more. But the whole point is trying to make it redundant so that you hopefully have next generation who can think about the newer direction the company can get into. We obviously we
Yeah,
got it to where it is, but then maybe new ideas, new ways of doing things, and especially new industries we can get into, which obviously I'm not focused on. That's something which I'm also very much keen to do in the next, I would say, probably 5 years.
yeah, right, right. Yeah, so basically to build a legacy.
Yeah, build a legacy and then do other things which I also enjoy.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I think there's a variety of things. Look, I'm not going to retire ever. I don't think that's on the cards. It's not on the table at all. Those things, I don't think it's never going to happen. But at least it will be a bit of a reduction on what it is on a day-to-day basis. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Wootzano, what's the best way to get in touch?
You can go to a website. There's a contact page there where you can add and send information if there's a specific one it gets redirected. We do utilize AI in there as well. So as soon as it comes to inboxes, we uh, there's an AI assistant which automates it and sends it across to whoever needs to be seen, whoever wherever it needs to be seen. So if you have any specific queries or even customers want to know more, there are different team members who get the request gets redirected to. Can obviously, if you want to speak to me directly, LinkedIn, my profile is open, so anyone can message me. Uh, Even if you don't have premium, you can message me without being connected as well. If you want to drop a line and say hi, and if there are any questions or want to be involved. And if you are looking to join a team, whether it's here in the UK or different locations in the world, contact us as well to the info@wootzano.com. Even if there's nothing available, we'll keep a profile for some time if it sounds interesting. So yeah, I mean that all those ways you can contact us.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, thanks for joining me today, Atif, and for this amazing podcast session. And for anyone listening, make sure to check out Wootzano socials below in the description because this episode was packed with value and I can wait to see what you build next.
Thank you so much.
Great, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you.